Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Fantasticapz. This time around I will be recapping the pilot episode of Fangasm, a new docuseries on the Space Network, or SyFy if you're in America, about 7 geeks who get the chance to intern for Stan Lee's Comikaze. If you've been watching the Geek Out Hangouts that are live on YouTube on Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, you'll know that each week we've been talking about a previous docuseries called Heroes of Cosplay. Fangasm is the next one up to bat, and we will be discussing it every Saturday night for the next couple of weeks, so make sure you stay tuned to those hangouts. When I first found out about the show, it was my understanding that it was going to be 7 geeks living in a house together, competing to intern for Stan Lee. Thankfully, I was mistaken in this regard, as this show is 7 geeks interning for Stan Lee, period. All 7 of them, no competition style, Big Brother, backstabbing, power hungriness crap. The 7 interns are Molly McIsaac, 26, from Seattle, Washington. Salvatore Fringo, 25, from Amsterdam, New York. Paul Perkins, 26, from Sacramento, California. Mike Reed, 22, from Tampa, Florida. Kristin Hackett, 23, from Merrick, New York. Andrew Duvall, 27, from Burbank, California. And Dani Bullis, 26, from Los Angeles, California. I'll have all of their Twitter handles in the info below so you can tweet them, talk to them, be geeks with them. The first person we're introduced to is Regina Carpinelli, the founder and CEO of the Comikaze convention. When the 7 geeks go into the boardroom to meet each other for the first time, the age-old Marvel vs. DC debate comes out with Mike, the DC fan, and Molly, the Marvels fan. When all the geeks are assembled in the boardroom and Regina joins them, she explains that Stan Lee wasn't able to be there to greet them in person, but she Skypes him in, which is pretty sweet. The geeks' first assignment is to promote Geek Pride Day to get it to be a national holiday. The origin of Geek Pride Day is very simple. Star Wars came out on May 25th, 1977. That's good enough to make it a holiday. I like Dani's comment that she makes after the geeks are given their assignment. She says, "I feel like Frodo. I know there's a test, and I know what needs to be done, and I'm going to get there, but I don't know how to do it, or what the way is." After the geeks meeting with Regina, they move along to the Comikaze apartments where they're going to be staying for their internship. It looks like an awesome place to live. Second to Nerdvana, of course, but this isn't one of those competition shows, so they don't need that big a space. Their backyard is pretty sweet too. It has a hot tub and a grill, even though they don't really know how to use it properly. But they're working out, they're geeks, they're adaptable. The next morning, Dani is ahead of the game and finds a Geek Pride party at a local bar in Los Angeles. As they're driving to the event wearing rightly awesome costumes, Paul as Captain America, Molly as Black Widow, Mike as Superman, Dani as Batgirl, Sal as Iron Man, and Kristin as Supergirl, they discover, we don't have our petitions. So they decide that they'll just go and get some notebooks and get petitions that way. They get a ton of signatures at this Geek Pride party, and afterwards decide to unwind and take in the festivities. The event that takes place after the signing, in my opinion, is really not what geekdom is about at all. There's a cosplay show on the stage at the bar where the event is held, and it's just 3 girls in scantily clad outfits dancing around and shaking their butts. It's not a celebration of what geeks are at all. I agree 100% with what Molly said about this. She says, "We struggle so hard to get respect and to not be sexual objects as geek women." After the day's events, the geeks go back to the Comikaze apartments, where Kristin suggests that they do a podcast about what it's like to intern for Stan Lee and just geek culture in general. The podcast, in my opinion, goes a little bit south since Andrew brings up, hey, who's gonna hook up with who? He guesses Mike is gonna be with Molly, Sal's gonna hook up with Dani, and Paul's gonna hook up with Kristin, leaving Andrew the odd one out. We don't need that in this show. After the podcast is over, they decide to go out to the hot tub, except they don't know how to work it. They crank the heat up, but it gets a little too hot, so they desperately try to cool it down. And since they can't figure out how to work the hot tub, the only logical suggestion is get the ice out of the freezer. So they dump all their ice in the hot tub, which makes it a little cooler and actually bearable to sit in. Molly's speech about why she cosplays is very inspiring and a great message to anyone with those same insecurities that she has. During a sandwich run that Mike and Dani made for Regina, Mike stumbles upon some flyers advertising a contest to win a dinner with George Takei. Sal, Mike, Dani, Paul, and Andrew go to this contest while Molly and Kristin go to the office at Regina's request. Before the show cuts to the contest, we're shown a diary scene where Andrew is explaining that he is a huge Star Trek fan and meeting George Takei would be an amazing experience for him. For the contest, the geeks had to hold up a ray gun above some caution tape, and if their arm fell, then they were out. Paul ends up winning the contest, which is alright because Paul is a pretty big Star Trek fan too, but I was pulling for Andrew the entire time and I was a bit disappointed when he lost. At dinner, Paul mentions to George that all the interns would love to meet him, and then George actually asks if he would be able to go back to the apartment to meet all of his friends. When Paul and George enter the house, everyone is shocked, of course, but Andrew is the most out of everyone. He gets up, skips right over the part about saying hello or introducing himself, and just grabs George's face. It was hilarious. After George leaves, Andrew breaks into tears and tells the interns a story about how his great-grandmother watched Star Trek with him when he was younger. It's very heartfelt and quite moving, actually. This concludes the second episode of Fantasticapz. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, punch the like button and write in the comments below if you're gonna watch Fangasm. I think it's an excellent show about geek expression and geek pride in general. Alright guys, that's all from me. I'll see you next time. Keep on keeping on.